are you flying from London directly to?
Turkey.
You're all stopping in Turkey?
No, we're stopping in Bahrain and then straight to Medina.
Oh wow, that's weird. Oh, well, you're going to Medina. You don't even go into Ihram anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got no worries.
Okay.
But you guys are going to Mecca first, aren't you?
Yeah.
So if you're going to Turkey first, you're not going to put on the Ihram. Nothing. When you get into a Turkish airport, there's cubicles for you to go into Ihram. You can do it. For ladies, it's not an issue anyway. But it's you're not going to go into Ihram, the state of Ihram, until you're on the plane flight taking off from Turkey. Okay, so just relax. Don't go into Ihram because all manner of things can happen. I know some people that they went to Ihram before leaving the house in England. Their whole their Hajj guide ran off with their money and they were stranded in Birmingham. They're in a state of Ihram. The only way they get out of it is to call someone from Saudi to slaughter an animal for them to get out. So, things can happen. So your Hajj guide tour, I'm sure dome tours and Hidayah don't do things like that. But,
are you going to Medina after?
Yeah.
So when do I put on Ihram? That's that answer to that. Okay, women, there is no Ihram in terms of clothing. Obviously in the Asian community, tradition is to wear that white clothing. That's nice. I think it's because it's symbolic, isn't it? That you've got some special clothing. But no, it's not necessary if it causes you difficulty. It doesn't have to be in a certain colour. It doesn't have to, you wear whatever you want as long as you're not covering your face. Yeah. Okay. And hands. Okay. But in our communities, we don't wear gloves anyway. So.
Can I ask about the feet when we're doing in Ihram?
They can be covered. Yeah. No, it's not. It's, as I said, specific position. Some people say cover. Some people. What's not necessary at all is to wear socks. Because what they say is covering feet means that the garment should be that's long because in those days people didn't wear socks, they wore garments that were long. But obviously that's very impractical in our day and age to do that. But as I said, whatever that's a fiqh preference. Okay, that's just a matter of fiqh. Okay. Let me make sure I've covered all my points. I want it.
I've just bought myself a pair of Vibrams, but they're not the right size. Vibrams, they're like these toe shoes.
They're running shoes.
Yeah, like barefoot ones.
Oh, I've seen.
Barefoot.
So how much did you pay?
What? They're really expensive, but it's for Hajj, right?
My sister-in-law took Crocs, but the flat ones.
Yeah, I've got Crocs too. The flat ones.
Yeah. So before initiating the Hajj, we spoke about obviously making sure you get rest before the night. It's recommended for you to have a shower. Even women on menses, it's recommended for them to have a shower. So it's symbolic of washing, as if you're like the washing of your body when you're dead. So it's a rebirth. You're going somewhere, and also purification, reminding yourself that you're purifying yourself on this journey. It's recommended to trim your nails, trim your beard, and just basically the basic stuff. It's perfectly permissible for men to apply perfume before the ihram, but not on the garment itself. Then you are going to pray 2 rakas of. It's recommended to pray 2 rakas of the journey. Afterwards, to recite Ayatul Kursi for protection, and some of the scholars recommended reciting the Ilā fi Quraysh. And at the end of the Ilā fi Quraysh, repeating وَآمَنَهُمْ مِنْ خَوْفٍ وَآمَنَهُمْ مِنْ خَوْفٍ وَآمَنَهُمْ مِنْ خَوْفٍ, i.e. and protected them from fear, just to reaffirm that you're asking for God's protection as you go. And so that's setting off and realising when you leave the home, that's the start of the Hajj journey. You're on your journey. This is Hajj now. Any questions about that?
Sheikh, in that process you mentioned, when do you do your intention?
For the Ihram?
Yeah,
not yet.
This is just all
it's all before. You're not making any intention.
Basically, it's all at home, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Now, the thing is, you can pray your 2 sunnahs of Ihram at any time. Okay. They don't have to be connected to the intention and the talbiyah. Okay. So they could even be done at home. You could, okay. But it's not necessary. You guys aren't going Ihram anyway. So for you guys, you can do it in Turkey anyway. So it's not. It's a sunnah. It's not something that's necessary. It's highly recommended.
And this is like before you leave the home. Like before you leave for the airport.
Yeah, you could do the 2 sunnahs of Ihram if you made intention for that then. But it's recommended for it to be closer. So, and because you're going to stop off in Turkey, you can do it then anyway when you start going into Ihram. It's better not to do the 2 sunnahs on the plane, just so anything can happen. So we come to so you get to the airport. As I said, for you guys, just make sure you work at your logistics. You're there 3 hours beforehand, ideally, and then just meet up with your groups. Get numbers of people. Also, what's really useful, I think, is when you meet and start socialising with your group, find out the people that have done Hajj before and haven't, so that you can keep them close to you if you've done tawafs and so forth before and they haven't, because a lot of people like to go as a group to perform Umrah on the first when their first Umrah because they've never done it before, but everyone gets lost, and so at least you have one person who's a fresher. That you're after them, because the whole group can't take care of everyone. So I think that's always nice, just to ask, is it your first time, and you can just give them advice and stuff like that, put the mind at ease, and so that's useful. Any other questions about that? No? And then we go into Ihram. Okay, so you guys will be flying. Something I forgot. You've left your home, you're shortening, obviously. Yeah? So you're going to be shortening your prayers the moment you leave Bradford. So if you're all going down to London, as soon as you get onto the motorway, you're shortening. So if you stop off anywhere, you're whilst you're on the move, your sunnahs are downplayed, i.e. you don't have to pray your sunnahs. Okay, if you wish to, you can. If it's not something that's binding on you, or it's something that's highly recommended. And then there becomes an issue of the joining. So joining's very, very relevant for travelling, especially by flight. So if you're in the airport, you've got to work out for your prayer times now. Work out your flights, when you're going to be when you're going to be on the plane and stuff, because ideally you don't want to be praying on the plane if you can. So I always say to people, you're flying at let's do it. What time? When you fly?
2 o'clock.
So you're flying at 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. Yeah, and your flight's going to Turkey at what?
At 2 p.m.
So it's arriving at?
Arriving in Turkey at 8 p.m.
8 p.m. Okay, and then your next flight?
It's at 10 p.m.
10 p.m.
to Jeddah.
Okay, and you're arriving at?
I don't know.
How long will that be? So let's do the first one. 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock you're flying. Okay, so you will have. So Dhuhr comes in at 1. 5 past 1. So you can get Dhuhr in, can't you, before you fly? Yeah, I'm assuming.
There's this really good app that you can get. It's called Halal Tours or something, and you put in your flight timings in there.
And it works all out for you.
Yeah,
there you go. Halal.
Halal Tours or something.
Halal Tours app.
I need to. I'll figure it out. But that's what I use every time I'm travelling.
So you basically, but you're flying at 2, and you're going to arrive at Turkey at 8. What time's sunset in Turkey? It's going to be around then, isn't it?
Like 7, 8 p.m?
Yeah, so you're basically, what you're going to do, I would recommend anyway, it's entirely up to you, I would pray Dhuhr and Asr together before getting onto the plane.
In the Hanafi method, I thought there was no real, you never take a prayer out of its time, so you pray Dhuhr at the end time and then pray Asr at the start time. Is that the combining? No, and that's, everyone agrees with that's permissible, okay? Yeah. But in these situations, as I said, it's entirely up to you, but whenever I'm flying, I join. Okay, it's perfectly permissible for you to take dispensations from other schools. So that's like taking out the prayer time. So which madhab, like?
So all the other schools consider, but joining in the Hanafi school, the strict position is that joining is only at Arafat and then Muzdalifah. Yeah. But even in the Hanafi school, the scholars talk about this: is the permissibility of taking positions in times of hardship, and so. I say to especially, say you're travelling with a wife and 5 kids, you're telling me you're going to try to get all your prayer times in time. What Pakistanis will do is they will let the prayer time go out. They just won't pray it and they'll wait till they get to Jeddah and then knock them up. Yeah, it's better to do something that's permissible than to do something, and to stress yourself out as well when you've got all these things to think about. So I recommend so these are your terms. This is my recommendation, that you pray Dhuhr and Asr 2-2. That's what you're going to be doing.
Ask, when else is it permissible to combine? Is it only when you're travelling, or is it if it was a regular day and you're going to be on the road? Or
yeah, so it's only when you become the majority of scholars say when you're considered a traveller. You can join in times of, for example, say you're so sick you don't know if you're going to be awake for the next prayer. So say someone at night, they get back from work, they've got really bad flu and the basically it's permissible for you to join your Isha early. So it's in times when there's a real, basically you're completely all over the place, you're really sick or travelling and you've got all these things to sort out and you're stressed and so forth. It's perfectly permissible for you to join in those situations. And so in this situation I will go for pray the Hanasa, and then basically you'll be in Turkey and it seems like 10 o'clock you're flying again. You are going to be able to you'll be praying Maghrib in Turkey definitely. Then you've got the choice, it's perfectly permissible if you bring your Isha with that, or if you, what time you get into Jeddah?
Would 2:30 a.m.
Yeah, I would.
That's quite tight then, isn't it?
I wouldn't risk it. I would pray. Yeah, this is another option people can do if they basically join, and then once if they feel like it, they can repray it. Okay, but definitely join just so you don't stress yourself out.
Because if we're landing at 2:30 a.m, then Isha will be on the plane.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk. I wouldn't, like, you might say, well, Fajr's not coming in until 3-4 o'clock, but you don't know what's going to happen in Jeddah before because once you get off the plane you can be waiting for an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Then Fajr will be in the airport then, won't it?
It seems so, yeah.
We pray our Isha.
Okay, so I would pray Isha. So that's now I've done that with her times. You guys work it out like that.
Yeah.
Okay, but I highly recommend doing that so that you alleviate the stress. Okay. What are we on now? So we're on the right. So we're in Turkey, and we're going to go into it. We're going to put the Ihram clothing on, but we're not going into Ihram. That's for Ahmed, obviously. Yeah. So you're going to Bahrain. Yeah, you're going to be in Turkey. Then from Turkey, you're going to go to Jeddah, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to get your clothes on there. So basically, you'll go into one of those cubicles, and then it's pretty straightforward. So what I recommend, if you haven't got the cubicle, is you tie the Ihram around your trousers and then you take your trousers off and so forth. Obviously you've got to take everything off, your underwear and everything. And so you tie it on the Ihram. So let's do the bit, if you want, just for the sake of the camera. So this is how I recommend doing the Ihram. As I said, everyone's got their preferences. So you don't know. The bottom one, what I do, someone recommended this actually, and I never thought of this. So you stand with your legs apart when you're actually doing your Ihram. Right, Shabana could do a bit of camera work now.
Yeah.
So some people recommend that you stand far apart because that gives you an idea of how far you can stretch beforehand. So you've got your Ihram like this, like a towel. Bring it as far back as you can. So tuck it in that way. It's covering. Okay, you've got no fear of it showing any leg on the side. So you bring it further back, as far back as you can. You bring that over, okay. Then you bring this back. So I should have bring that back. Get mine. Okay, then one fold to the middle, and then you start folding according to your. That's the adjusting. Yeah, there's no fear of you've got plenty of leg room. You're not going to expose your leg because it's gone all the way back, and you've got plenty of movement. Never fear that you're exposing yourself from the back. Okay. So it's disliked for you to use safety pins, and that's disliked. It's not. There's no penalty for it, but you don't need it, honestly. Okay, that's pretty secure. Then the other thing, there's two types of Ihram. There's the towel one, and there's a thin cotton one. I personally don't recommend the cotton ones because when you perspire, you get see-through, and you will perspire probably. Also, with the thing about this is it clings, it holds because the towel material, and so you're not. So it's less likely to go all over the place. It's a bit heavier. If it gets a bit windy out there, you're constantly moving out. So I prefer these. You might think, well, I'm going to get really sweaty, but this soaks up the sweat anyway, and it's not. So there you go. Okay, you're not. A lot of people. Some people think that the ihram's this. That's only at one point that it's like that. That's when you're doing the tawaf which is followed by a sa'i. Okay.
Even if you sweat though, and that gets wet, does it get quite damp then?
No, I've not experienced it. I always have a spare ihram. Just in case.
So this should be up to your navel?
Oh yeah, so obviously from a fiqh perspective, basically a lot of people have they got their bellies. Like they should have it over because that's your aura.
Yeah.
So it should
So
come up
how
to
do you-
here.
So even if you were to lose the top half, you still
Yeah, you'll be fine. Yeah, you're considered covered.
The guy at the Dontals, he put it on as well, and he put all his money and everything in the fold.
Yeah.
And his mobile phone as
Yeah.
well.
So what I
'Cause he said people steal stuff.
Oh no, definitely. So what I have, it's permissible for you to have a money belt, and the money belt's tucked. So yeah, you put the money belt here, so it acts as extra. It actually acts as an extra hold, but that's not your intention. Your intention is to secure your personals, and then you fold this over so it's hidden. Okay. As for did he use no money belt? In his,
He
I mean, I would personally.
He goes every year, so he looked really experienced. He just tucked his phone under, and he's like, "Put your money there. That's it."
I mean,
done.
that's probably safe, but I'd feel a bit insecure
Yeah.
having my money just in like that. Is that okay for the ihram? So that's wearing it. What's the significance of it? Obviously, it's like the burial, and so you're reminded that you're moving from one life to another. And so it's like an initiation rite. Yeah. Did you have a question, Alan?
I was going to say, are you allowed any kind of bag over there?
Yeah. So they, in terms of, so if what's impermissible is clothing that you're wearing as it normally would be worn. Now, some people get really super say a bag, you're wearing it like it, but it's not clothing. So as long as it's like a jacket, I can put a jacket over my shoulders, but the minute I put my arms through it, now I'm wearing it as it normally would be worn, and that would be a penalty. If I wore it for a full day, that's a dam then. For a full day, from daylight hours, from Fajr up until sundown, or sundown to Fajr, okay? It's because people talk about even sleeping bags. You're not allowed to cover it, you know. I think if you want to be super precautious, then unzip it, you know. But I don't think it's a penalty for it. I think it's clothing that we're talking about.
Umbrellas are okay?
Yeah, umbrellas. It's not clothing. It's not clothing.
What about a hat like with an umbrella? Like
if you
I was like thinking
if it's not touching you, it's fine. Because women have this. Women that wear the face veil, you'll see some women that have like this wiring. That's permissible because it's not touching the face. The impermissibility is the touching. Okay. So as long as if you can get wires on your ears. So
sunglasses are no because
they're fine. It's not clothing.
Oh, right, it's because it's touching your face.
Yeah. No. Oh no, it's clothing. Yeah. Right. It's clothing. And so watches are fine. Okay. Rings are fine. None of this is considered clothing, so it's perfect. And if it's being worn for a purpose, it's perfect. The whole idea of the ihram is you're trying to limit, like, you're not concerned about your state. That's the whole purpose behind this. That you're focused more on who you're going to, your Lord. A lot of sisters ask me, like, for example, can I wear foundation and all these sorts of things? As long as it's not fragrance, it's permissible. But it defeats the purpose to be but some girls are so self-conscious, they've never stepped outside their house without foundation on. So if they're going to be like, you know, nearly having a breakdown because of it, let them wear it. You know? But as I said, it's better not to wear that stuff, even though it's permissible, just because the idea is that you're not. So some scholars have mentioned it's slightly disliked even to look in the mirror when you're in ihram, because the whole point is that you're supposed to be focused on God and your self. It's an exercise of self-effacement. Yeah. So pray to sunnahs. We said that state your desire to perform the Hajj or Umrah. Now this is, as we said, so you guys are in Medina, you're going to go to a state of ihram. You guys are going to be in Turkey, going to a state of ihram, or on the plane. Yeah, I recommend that you do it when the plane sets off. You're going to go into ihram now. Whenever that time is on the plane, you choose. But the thing is, this is a major issue. I assume that all of you are doing Hajj Tamattu'. Obviously, you've got 3 Hajjs. You've got Hajj Ifrad, where you just perform Hajj, no Umrah whatsoever. I don't think anyone's going to do that. You've got Hajj al-Qiran, where you basically go into a state of ihram for Umrah and Hajj, and you stay in the state of ihram after your Umrah. I don't assume everyone's doing that. Hajj Tamattu', this is a really important point. When you are in Turkey and you're going to a state of ihram, you're not making intention for Hajj. Because people would do that. They would say, I'm making intention for Hajj. No, you're not. What are you making intention for? Umrah. If you make intention for Hajj, you've done Hajj Ifrad. That means you've got to go do a Hajj and you're not doing an Umrah. And so that I don't think a lot of people highlight that. because that would be my normal assumption that I'm making intention for Hajj because I'm going on Hajj, but that's a completely different intention. And that will be the same decision for you. You'll go to Dhul Hulayfa, isn't it? And then you'll go to Ihram for Umrah, not Hajj. You're gonna go to Ihram for Hajj on the 7th night, when you head out to Mina, which we'll talk about later. So that's a really important distinction, that women who are on their menses, they can go into Ihram. That's another mistake people make. Okay. Let me make sure. So, state your desire to perform the Hajj or Umrah and ask God to accept it from you. That intention, does it need to be verbalised? No. But some people like to verbalise it because it's sort of reaffirming it. And it could be in any language, it doesn't have to be in Arabic. Make intention for Umrah if you perform the Hajj. Yeah, we said that. Okay, so you make it then. So you made you've done your 2 sunnahs before going onto plane. You're now flying, and you're going to go make your intention, and then after the intention you do your talbiyah. Labbaik Allahumma labbaik. You're in ihram now. The minute you say that once, which is the wajib, you have to say talbiyah once. You're in ihram. It's recommended. It's sunnah to say it 3 times. But the necessity is that it's once. It's recommended after the talbiyah that you ask Allah to protect you to grant you the garden and protect you from the fire, and to forgive you, entry into the garden, protection from the hellfire, and salat on the Prophet ﷺ. Every time you do the talbiyah, it's recommended to do that. Okay. What is the talbiyah? The talbiyah literally means that you are responding to God's answer and Abraham's call. Remember those 2 calls? And this is really significant. I didn't mention this at the beginning. Is that it said we responded to God. How did we respond to God? God asked us a question. What was that question?
Who is your Lord?
Yeah. Oh, no, not who is your Lord.
Am I your Lord?
Yeah. Am I not your Lord? Yeah. That's in the grave. That one. Am I not your Lord? And all the souls before him said, Bala. Yeah. So we testify that that's the case. And then when it's easy to say something, isn't it? But then he threw us on this earth. He puts us on this earth in order to demonstrate that we're going to implement that. They say that promise was placed in the black stone. So the black stone came down from paradise to Adam, and it was initially, what colour was it? White, and then it turned black because the sins of the people. Now, so when we're doing the talbiyah, it's as if we're going to the black stone in order to reaffirm that pledge that on this earth we oh Allah, we made that pledge there, and we're making that pledge now. And it said, it's a statement attributed to Ibn Abbas. It's like kissing the right hand of God. Now that's obviously allegoric. It's not literal. But as I said, that's very. You remember I mentioned about the King of Morocco. That's what basically it's a pledge, isn't it? If you kiss someone's right hand, it's you're reaffirming your pledge of allegiance. So that's what the talbiyah is according to. I'm here, and I'm responding to your call. So and that you're adhering to the worship of God. As long as you're in a state of ihram, you're in an act of worship, because ihram means to make something haram. So when we do our ihram in prayer, we're making things prohibited on us that normally wouldn't be considered prohibitive. In prayer, you're not going to have lunch, you're not going to drink, you're not going to speak with people. You've restricted yourself to certain acts. That's what we're doing in ihram. We're restricting ourselves from doing certain things that we normally would have no issue doing. And so that's what we're restricting ourselves to worship. So realise that when we're in ihram, you're in an act of worship, so you should be focused on what you're doing. That doesn't mean you neglect everyone around you and say, excuse me, I can't talk, I'm in ihram, because they are part of your worship. Sometimes that's an important point, is that like your worship is also the people around you, because the biggest part, the biggest thing we do, the biggest mistake we make on Hajj is that we think, I've got to achieve all these things. Okay, we all fall into that, but we get caught up in the rituals of worship. But worship is about doing. Well, the definition of worship, I like to look at it as it's to do what's pleasing to God, and sometimes that's something that's not ritualistic. So if someone needs your help, that's your worship. If it's not necessary Right? And people can get so obsessive about, well, I said I'm going to do 3 tawafs each day, or I said I'm going to do this. You know, that's nice to have it as a goal, but always assess the situation. What's required of me. And so in the you know, don't become Mr. Coldy on everybody, because I've got to be doing a perfect Hajj. And there's that famous story, I don't know if you heard about, I think it was Abdullah ibn Mubarak, where he was on the Hajj and he had a dream of angels, or he heard angels speaking, did you? And basically said no one's Hajj has been accepted this year, and then they set one man, and then he found out that man never even went on Hajj, did he? Have you heard the story? So he travels back to Syria and he finds, wherever it was, and he finds that man and he says, how on earth you didn't even go on a Hajj and your Hajj was the only one accepted? And he went, because he gave up his Hajj for someone else. And so it's that attitude. It's that, Hajj is about sacrifice. And so
I think he had saved up money for Hajj his whole life, but when he was going, his neighbours were in need, so he gave the money to
that
them
was
instead.
it. Yes, thank you. Yeah, so sorry, he didn't pay for someone else's Hajj, he paid for someone else's need. So he got the reward of Hajj. That was very sincere. Okay, but it's easy if you're going on Hajj for it to be insincere sometimes. So that'll be his words. We said that. Yeah, Gabriel ordered the Muslims to raise their voices. Yeah, that's recommended for men to raise their voice, not bellow it out at the top of your guts, at the top of your throats, but to say it's audibly, quite audibly, and you recite it until you initiate. So you're going to be doing talbiyah now until you start your tawaf for Umrah. So for the Umrah, you're going to be doing talbiyah all the way up to the tawaf. For the Hajj, you're going to be doing it all the way up till the throwing of the jamarat, the Jamarat al-Kubra. On the first day, the 10th, the first stone, where you only throw stone one pillar. That's where you stop your talbiyah for Hajj. And it's recommended for you to say it whenever you change your position. So say you're sitting down in the airport, and then you get up, it's recommended to say it. So whenever state you move from one state to the other, to remind yourself that you are always, you're in this state of Ihram. And what I like to say about Ihram is take advantage of it, because it's not often you say it. So realise something special, so make as much of it as you possibly can, reminding yourself that you're calling out to your Lord, and as if you're going to Him, like you're going from someone's reuniting with a loved one they haven't been to for some time. Okay. So, any questions about? And so this hadith here: there's no Muslim who calls out the two beings, so that every stone, tree, and earth on his right and left cry out with him. So it's very significant. If you imagine it, it's like an echo going out, and anyone everything that hears it starts repeating it with you. So you've become very, very significant. You feel like you might be someone insignificant. The fact you're going on Hajj now, the whole earth around you is in support of you. So have a sense of feeling of that.